Welcome back, YouTube. This is Dave Lucas with Injection Molding Skills and More. Today's video, we're going to be going over injection molding pros and cons. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while. I went to Jacksonville for 4 days, and then I went to Prattville, Alabama for 3 days to visit my daughter. Hopefully I can get back on track. Hope you guys had a great holiday. But this video, actually, we're going to do, I got a guy, his name's Tristan, he works for Plasticom, and what he's going to tell you is he's going to go into more detail on his video about the cost and the cons, or, you know, like give you the pros and the cons on it, and then I'm going to go over a little bit on the whiteboard with you guys, the pros and cons that I think are very key to having a successful injection molding company. And, you know, making sure that you're actually making quality parts, good parts. You have the best team around you to make that happen. So I hope you guys watch this video or enjoy this video inside this video.
Tristan with Plasticom Plastics. Today we're going to be touching on the pros and cons of injection molding. Injection molding is the most common way to mold plastic parts. You can see it with electronic plastic pieces. You can see it with plastic containers, things for your automobiles. Pretty much anywhere where you have a lot of plastic products, something's going to be injection molded. So the first pro is that injection molding is relatively cheap when you're talking about each unit cost. Now this is because of the efficiency and speed. With injection molding, you can reduce your shipping times, you can create bigger loads faster, you can reduce the employee costs because the injection machines are so efficient, and the materials going in are relatively cheap. Now if you're using recycled material, sometimes you can actually bring that cost even lower. So each part, you know, if it's a relatively small part, you're looking at a few cents per unit. So the next pro is that injection molding is incredibly detailed. You can show little logos, you can show different designs on your product, and it doesn't cost any extra per unit cost to have these extra design features in your product. Because all the molds are, you know, identical, all the products are going to look identical, and this is going to give you a very professional look to your product. The third upside to injection molding is how expandable it is. So injection molding has been around for over 100 years. It's not uncommon by any means. Every country, every state is going to have an injection molding facility, which means that you can actually produce your products anywhere you want in the world. Whether you want to produce them in North America or overseas in Asia or in Europe, it doesn't really matter. You can produce your products there. This means that you can reduce your freight cost. Because it's not a specialty manufacturing system and you can outsource anywhere you want, you can create your products really close to the end user, so you don't have to spend additional cost on freight. Plasticom Plastics is one of the leaders in injection molding in terms of sustainability, so we've researched a lot and created a lot of new technologies that go into the injection molding system. So a lot of our business actually doesn't really do with injection molding itself and the manufacturing itself. It actually has to do with licensing. So we license some of our technology that makes injection molding cheaper for the end user. This brings us to the last point of why injection molding is great, and that is because there are now ways for us to do it more sustainably. Of course, as the world transitions from plastics to other better materials, compostable materials, there is still a lot of plastic waste floating around in our oceans and in our recycled facilities, and we have to do something with this plastic one way or another. So a great way is to put it into new products. So now let's move over to the cons. So the first con is that the molds are incredibly expensive to make, right? Because you need to make the molds exactly perfect before you do any sort of manufacturing. It costs a lot to make, and usually that is done outsourced overseas. Molds are generally made with steel or aluminum, and are basically etched out until they're perfect. Now, because they're so expensive, between tens and thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars to make, you need to ensure that the unit cost that you're going to produce is going to be enough to offset the cost of the mold. So we get a lot of emails and inquiries from inventors who create a product and they just want us to injection mold maybe 1,000 units, 100 units of their product. And for this, we actually recommend maybe 3D printing or continue working on their prototypes digitally, because to actually make that mold is going to cost the user $100,000, and to make a prototype for that is very expensive. Now, the next Negative with injection molding is, again, with the mold, they're very hard to modify. So basically, you have a big block of steel or aluminum, and you're etching out the hollow space where that plastic will fill, right? So if you're going to increase the size of the product, that's possible because you can take out more material, you can take out more steel. But if you are decreasing the size of the product, there's nothing really you can do, and you have to build another mold from scratch. Again, if you're making a fundamental design change with the mold and with the product, you're going to have to create a new mold from scratch. This can get costly, and there's no real flexibility to make a product just to try it out and then change the product, make another product just to try it out. You really got to, be set that the product you want to make is exactly how you want to sell it. Is exactly what consumers want, so you can build that mold per those specifications. This means that customer research can be pretty difficult. You can't produce the product and show it to the customers and take those fundamental design changes and just whip another product out. You have to do your product research, you have to do your customer research before you even make the product, so they can be very timely and very labor intensive. So let's wrap this up. If you're thinking about injection molding, it is very fast, it's cost effective if you're making a lot of units, it's very effective, and you can use sustainable materials or recycled waste. However, you do need to understand that you should be producing 10, 20, 40,000 units at least as a minimum to offset the cost of that mold, and you have to be certain that that mold is exactly how you want it, which means you have to make sure the consumer is really going to like what you're going to produce.
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I was gonna write on the whiteboard and show you guys some things on the whiteboard, but I'm just gonna sit down and talk to you guys about it. So first off, I think the biggest things that you have on injection molding is your labor. So think about it. If you have operators, your operators are most of the time are temps, okay? So your skilled labor is the hardest area to fill, and I feel like that's the con of a business, basically. So let's say you have mold setters and you have technicians that are not trained properly, or you have some that are trained properly, getting the other guys up to speed. Operators come in, they run the press, they trim, they pack parts, and that's a pretty easy job. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but that is actually a pretty simple job. Now when you go from doing like material handling, you go into doing mold setting, or you trying to process and troubleshoot the press and get the robots going and all that, those skilled labor areas are the areas that are more demand, are hard to find people to actually do those jobs. So I think the biggest thing in injection molding, the pros on it are, yeah, you have a big turnover, but you can actually get people back in there to actually run those jobs. The downside of it is it's hard to find skilled labor, very hard, and it's hard to have somebody that's knowledgeable of the injection molding side. So to bring guys up from being a material handler to going to being a mold setter to being a process technician takes years, takes time, I mean, you can take somebody that's been doing mold setting for maybe a year or so, train them to be a process tech, but that process teching position is going to take them years to understand. There's steps you can go through as far as training them, getting them up to speed. I've always been a firm believer in hiring inside the company, like promote within. It's always a good tool to help others out, and giving as much knowledge and as much training to that person as possible. I've been in injection molding now a long time, since 1996, and I feel like that's where your weakness is. Your con is in injection molding. Your pro is yeah, you could run hundreds and hundreds of parts. You can have temps come and go, like they always say, for every 10 temps, one will stay out of those 10 temps. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's not something, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit informative, but hopefully I'll get back on track next week with some good content. Until next time, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all the support to the channel. Peace.